In Stoic philosophy, relationships are built on the principles of mutual respect, fairness, and reciprocity. The Stoics believed that true friendship involves a balance of give and take, where both individuals support and care for each other. When you find yourself in a relationship where someone is constantly asking for favors, yet never offers anything in return, it's a clear violation of these Stoic ideals. Stoicism teaches us to act with virtue and wisdom, but it also emphasizes the importance of setting boundaries to protect our well-being and prevent exploitation. If you liked the topic, type 1 in the comments section. If it didn't resonate with you, comment 0 in the comments section so we can improve and create better content for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos on Stoicism and personal growth, and hit the bell icon for updates. Stay tuned, and let's explore these types of behaviors so you can protect your inner tranquility and live more in line with Stoic wisdom. Number 1. The user. Consider a scenario where she is always asking you for favors, whether it's borrowing money, asking for help with errands, or needing a ride somewhere. She knows that you'll always say yes. At first, you didn't mind. You saw yourself as being a good friend or partner, someone willing to lend a hand when she needed it. Helping others is a virtuous act, and in line with the Stoic value of kindness and generosity. However, as time passed, you began to notice an imbalance in the relationship. While you were always there for her, she never reciprocated. She never asked how you were doing, never offered to help when you needed something, and never seemed to appreciate the sacrifices you were making on her behalf. In Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius reminds us to be mindful of the intentions behind our actions. If our help is offered out of genuine care, that's virtuous. But if we begin to feel used, as though the other person is only taking from us without giving back, it's a sign that the relationship lacks reciprocity. The Stoic idea of justice requires that relationships be fair and balanced, where both parties benefit from the connection in some way. As the relationship continued, you started to feel taken advantage of. Every time she needed something, she could count on you. But when you needed her, she was nowhere to be found. It became clear that she wasn't interested in a balanced or mutually supportive relationship. She was using you to get what she needed. And the worst part came when you finally set a boundary and said no. Instead of understanding, she acted like you were the bad guy, accusing you of not being there for her, further demonstrating her lack of appreciation and awareness of the relationship's imbalance. In Stoic philosophy, boundaries are essential to maintaining our own sense of peace and emotional well-being. Epictetus taught that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control how we respond to them. When someone is using you for their own benefit without showing any interest in your well-being, Stoicism encourages us to step back and reassess the relationship. Setting boundaries is not only necessary to protect ourselves from exploitation, but it is also an act of wisdom and self-respect. Ultimately, Stoicism teaches us that helping others is a virtuous act, but only when it is done in the spirit of genuine care and friendship. If someone continually takes advantage of your kindness without offering anything in return, it is time to set firm boundaries. By doing so, you preserve your own tranquility and ensure that your actions align with the Stoic principles of wisdom, justice, and emotional balance. If you found value in this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below to share your experiences. If you liked the topic, type 1 in the comments. If it didn't resonate with you, comment 0 so we can improve and create better content for you. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos on Stoicism and personal growth, and hit the bell icon for updates. Number 2, the entitled one. From the beginning you treated her well. buying her gifts, taking her out to nice dinners, and making sure she was happy. Your intention was to show her that you cared. And for a time, it seemed like she appreciated your efforts. You felt good about your actions, believing that you were nurturing a relationship based on mutual affection and respect. However, as time went on, you began to notice a troubling shift. What once appeared to be gratitude gradually transformed into expectation. This shift is particularly significant in Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes the importance of understanding intentions and maintaining emotional balance. When you suggested splitting the bill at dinner or opted not to buy her a gift, her reaction was not one of understanding. Instead, she acted offended, as though your generosity was an obligation rather than a choice. This entitlement is a clear departure from the principles of reciprocity and mutual respect that should underpin any healthy relationship. In Stoicism, relationships are not only about giving, but also about ensuring that both parties feel valued and appreciated. You started to realize that her expectations were growing, and no matter how much you gave, it was never enough. Stoic thinkers like Seneca often spoke about the danger of allowing oneself to be manipulated by others' desires and expectations. When a relationship becomes one-sided, where one person consistently takes while the other gives, it leads to emotional imbalance. The Stoics teach us that we should act with virtue, but they also remind us to be discerning in our actions. Generosity should arise from a place of genuine care, not from the weight of obligation or the fear of disappointing someone. As her expectations continued to grow, you began to feel the strain of the relationship. She acted as if she was entitled to your time, money, and attention, without ever showing gratitude or reciprocating your efforts. This sense of entitlement is contrary to the Stoic value of justice, which stresses the importance of fairness in relationships. In a balanced relationship, both individuals should contribute to one another's well-being. When one person is always giving and the other is always taking, the foundation of the relationship becomes shaky and unsustainable. Realizing this imbalance was a pivotal moment for you. Stoicism teaches that when someone becomes entitled to your kindness, it's no longer an act of virtue. Instead, it's a situation where you are being taken advantage of. The Stoic response in such cases is to set clear boundaries. This doesn't mean withdrawing your kindness altogether, but rather ensuring that your generosity is offered freely and willingly, not out of obligation or expectation. Establishing boundaries protects your emotional well-being and helps restore balance to the relationship. It allows you to give from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. By doing so, you reclaim your autonomy and prevent the feelings of resentment that can arise when kindness is taken for granted. In Stoicism, the ultimate goal is to cultivate a virtuous life where actions align with reason and justice, ensuring that both parties in a relationship feel valued and respected. Ultimately, the teachings of Stoicism guide us in recognizing the importance of healthy boundaries and mutual respect in our relationships. When generosity transforms into entitlement, it is essential to step back and reassess the dynamics at play, ensuring that kindness is offered without expectation, fostering a more balanced and harmonious connection. In Stoic philosophy, the importance of reciprocity in relationships cannot be overstated. The Stoics believed that healthy relationships are based on mutual effort and respect. When one party consistently invests their time and energy while the other fails to do the same, the relationship becomes imbalanced. This imbalance can lead to feelings of resentment, frustration, and emotional fatigue. The Stoics remind us that our time and energy are valuable resources, and we should be careful about how we invest them. Number 3. The Flake. She makes plans with you, and you're excited to spend time together. Anticipation fills your mind as you think of all the possibilities the day might hold. However, at the last minute, she cancels. This isn't the first time it has happened. In fact, it seems to occur almost every time you try to make plans. You find yourself perpetually caught in a cycle of disappointment. You're always the one putting in the effort, arranging dates, and trying to find ways to hang out, but she's constantly bailing on you. Sometimes she doesn't even bother to cancel. She simply doesn't show up. Initially, you made excuses for her behavior. Perhaps she's busy, or maybe something unexpected came up. You wanted to believe that her cancellations were unintentional and that she valued your time. Yet as the pattern continues, you begin to realize that she isn't just busy. She's not interested in putting in the effort. This realization hits hard, leaving you feeling frustrated and unimportant. It begs the question, why are you the one who has to put in all the work while she seems indifferent to the relationship? The teachings of Stoicism suggest that we need to recognize when a relationship is no longer beneficial to our well-being. The principle of reciprocity urges us to evaluate whether the effort we are making is acknowledged and returned. If someone repeatedly fails to meet us halfway, it's a clear sign that they may not value the relationship as much as we do. In such situations, it is wise to reassess our commitment to that relationship. Marcus Aurelius taught that we should not be swayed by the opinions or actions of others, and that includes those we wish to keep in our lives. When someone consistently disrespects your time, it's essential to prioritize your own well-being. You are entitled to seek out relationships that provide mutual satisfaction and support. Continuing to invest time in someone who does not reciprocate can lead to emotional depletion and negatively impact your mental health. In practical terms, Stoicism encourages us to have open discussions about our feelings regarding the relationship. You can express your disappointment and share your observations about her lack of effort. This approach aligns with the Stoic practice of communication and seeking understanding. If she values the relationship, she may be willing to make changes. However, if she dismisses your feelings or continues to exhibit the same behavior, it may be time to consider moving on. Ultimately, the principles of Stoicism guide us toward cultivating relationships that foster mutual respect and reciprocity. Time is a finite resource, and the Stoics remind us that we must use it wisely. By recognizing when our efforts are not valued and setting boundaries accordingly, we can ensure that our relationships contribute positively to our lives and align with our values. Number 4. The Ingrate. You've gone out of your way to help her, whether it's offering her a place to stay when she had nowhere to go, helping her through a tough time, or simply being there for her when no one else was. Your intention was noble. You thought she'd appreciate it, that she'd see how much you cared and how much you were willing to sacrifice for her well-being. However, instead of responding with gratitude, she acted as if your kindness was no big deal, as if it was something she had a right to expect. This lack of appreciation can be disheartening, particularly when you've invested significant time, energy, and resources into supporting someone. The Stoics believed that gratitude is not only an essential part of human interaction, but also a fundamental virtue. They taught that when someone receives help, they should acknowledge it and express their thanks. This acknowledgement serves as the foundation for a healthy relationship built on mutual respect and reciprocity. Yet, as time went on, you noticed a troubling trend. She never said thank you, never acknowledged the effort you put in, and even began to act entitled to your help. The dynamic shifted, and instead of feeling like a valued friend, you started to feel more like an unpaid servant. When you asked her for help with something, she brushed it off as if it were too much trouble for her. This consistent lack of reciprocity and acknowledgement can leave you feeling unappreciated and used. In Stoicism, the concept of virtue extends beyond just actions. It encompasses the mindset with which we approach our relationships. If someone fails to show gratitude for the help they receive, they are not acting in accordance with the Stoic principles of virtue, which emphasize justice, respect, and care for others. Gratitude is not just a polite response. It reflects an understanding of the interconnectedness of human relationships and the importance of acknowledging the efforts of others. Realizing that no matter how much you helped her, she was never going to appreciate it, can be a painful insight. The Stoics would advise you to reflect on the nature of the relationship and consider its value in your life. It's important to understand that your willingness to help others should not come at the expense of your own emotional well-being. If someone consistently demonstrates a lack of gratitude, it may be time to withdraw your support. This isn't about being unkind or withholding help when someone truly needs it. Instead, it's a call to protect your emotional resources and prioritize your own well-being. The Stoics taught that we must act with wisdom and discernment. Helping others is virtuous, but it should be done in an environment of mutual respect. When the balance tips too far in one direction, it can lead to emotional burnout and resentment. By withdrawing your help in situations where it is neither acknowledged nor appreciated, you reclaim your agency. You demonstrate self-respect and reinforce the value of gratitude and reciprocity in your relationships. The Stoic approach encourages us to engage in relationships that uplift us, recognizing that our kindness deserves to be met with equal respect and appreciation. Ultimately, it's about fostering a sense of balance that allows both parties to thrive, reflecting the Stoic virtues of wisdom, justice, and emotional resilience. Number 5. The victim. She's always playing the victim. No matter what happens in her life, it's never her fault. She constantly complains about how the world is against her, how nothing ever goes her way, and how everyone else is to blame for her problems. And you've been there for her through it all, listening patiently to her complaints, offering advice, and trying to help her see things from a different perspective. You've given her the benefit of the doubt, thinking that perhaps she just needs support to overcome her challenges. However, over time, you begin to notice that no matter how much advice or encouragement you offer, nothing ever seems to change. She doesn't take responsibility for her actions, and she refuses to make any real effort to improve her situation. Instead, she continues to dwell in her narrative of being the perpetual victim, expecting you to be her sounding board for her endless stream of complaints. It becomes clear that she is more comfortable in her role as the victim than she is with taking control of her life. No matter how much you try to help, you realize that she's not interested in changing. She's too attached to the comfort of blaming others and avoiding personal responsibility. In Stoic philosophy, personal responsibility and the cultivation of a virtuous character are paramount. The Stoics believed that we are responsible for our own actions, choices, and attitudes, and that we must face life's challenges with courage and resilience. Blaming others for our problems or constantly portraying ourselves as victims is not a virtuous way of living. According to Stoic principles, playing the victim erodes personal growth and undermines one's ability to cultivate wisdom and self-discipline. Stoicism teaches that while it is compassionate to offer help and support to others, we must be discerning in how we invest our emotional energy. Helping someone who is truly trying to improve their situation is a virtuous act, but getting caught up in someone else's victim mentality is detrimental to our own well-being. By continuously indulging someone's refusal to take responsibility for their own life, we not only enable their unhealthy behavior, but also risk draining ourselves emotionally. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most well-known Stoic philosophers, reminds us to be cautious about allowing the negativity of others to influence our state of mind. He writes, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If you are constantly surrounded by someone who plays the victim and refuses to change, you risk becoming influenced by their negativity and adopting their mindset. Stoicism encourages us to protect our own tranquility and not allow ourselves to be dragged down by those who refuse to take responsibility for their lives. The Stoic response to someone who consistently plays the victim is to set clear boundaries. While we can offer help and advice, we must recognize when our efforts are not being appreciated or acted upon. It is not our responsibility to solve someone else's problems, especially when they are unwilling to take any initiative to solve them themselves. In such cases, stepping back and withdrawing emotional investment is the wisest course of action. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our own thoughts, actions, and attitudes. We cannot control how others respond to their own circumstances, and we cannot force them to take responsibility for their lives. By distancing ourselves from those who perpetuate a victim mentality, we protect our own emotional well-being and remain committed to living in accordance with Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, and self-discipline. Number 6. The Manipulator. In Stoic philosophy, one of the core teachings is that we should seek to act with virtue, rooted in wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. This means that while we should aim to help others, we must do so with discernment and an understanding of the potential consequences. The story of giving endlessly to someone who manipulates your kindness highlights an important Stoic lesson. While generosity and care are virtuous, they should not be blindly given to those who exploit or abuse them. This balance between virtue and wisdom is essential for maintaining emotional, mental, and even financial well-being. You've always been there for her, providing support whenever she needed it. Whether it was lending her money during difficult times, helping her with personal problems, or simply being her constant emotional pillar, your actions came from a place of genuine care. At first, it seemed like she appreciated it. She would thank you, express her gratitude, and tell you how much you meant to her. But over time, you began to notice subtle changes. What started as appreciation turned into expectation. Every time you were there for her, she not only accepted your help, but started to act as though it was her right to receive it. This gradual shift from gratitude to entitlement is where Stoicism offers valuable guidance. According to the Stoics, we should aim to live in harmony with nature, using reason to guide our actions. Helping others is virtuous, but if we are not mindful, we can fall into the trap of allowing ourselves to be used. Seneca, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, often warned against the dangers of overcommitting to others without considering the consequences for ourselves. In this case, your continued support, without reflection or boundaries, started to drain you emotionally, mentally, and financially. As her expectations grew, so did the imbalance in your relationship. She no longer asked for help, but demanded it. You'd lend her money without question, only to see that she didn't repay you or even acknowledge it. When she needed emotional support, you dropped everything to be there for her, but when you needed her in return, she was unavailable. Over time, it became clear that this wasn't a relationship built on mutual respect or care. It was one-sided. She saw your kindness as a resource to be exploited rather than a gift to be appreciated. In Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius reminds us in his Meditations, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your actions are continually influenced by someone who manipulates and exploits your kindness, you risk losing your sense of peace and clarity. Instead of acting from a place of virtue, you may start to act out of obligation, guilt, or frustration, which can lead to resentment and emotional exhaustion. The Stoics emphasize the importance of guarding your inner tranquility and not allowing external circumstances or people to disrupt it. When someone begins to take your kindness for granted, they are not acting in alignment with the Stoic virtues of justice and fairness. Justice, in Stoic terms, refers to treating others with fairness, and this fairness must be reciprocal. A relationship where one person gives endlessly while the other only takes is not just, it's exploitative. As a Stoic, you must recognize when your actions are no longer serving both parties and when it's time to withdraw your support. This doesn't mean that Stoicism teaches us to be selfish or to avoid helping others altogether. On the contrary, Stoicism encourages compassion and generosity, but it must be done with wisdom and boundaries. If someone is using your kindness without reciprocating or even showing gratitude, it's time to evaluate the situation. Is your help truly benefiting them, or is it enabling harmful behavior? Are you giving out of genuine care, or are you starting to feel obligated or manipulated? Seneca famously wrote, "He who receives a benefit with gratitude repays the first installment of his debt." This means that gratitude is a fundamental part of any healthy relationship. When someone accepts your help without gratitude, they are failing to recognize the value of your generosity. In such cases, it's essential to set boundaries, both for your own well-being and to encourage the other person to take responsibility for their actions. In your situation, the constant giving without reciprocation or gratitude was a clear sign that the relationship was no longer balanced. Every time you hesitated to help, she would guilt-trip you, making you feel like you weren't being a good friend or partner. But Stoicism reminds us that our worth is not determined by others' opinions or manipulations. Your duty is to act with virtue, but also with wisdom. If someone is using guilt to manipulate you into giving more than you're comfortable with, that's a sign that they're not acting in alignment with Stoic principles of justice and fairness. Ultimately, Stoicism teaches us that we must guard our own peace and clarity of mind. If someone is draining your resources, whether emotional, mental, or financial, without giving anything back, it's time to step back. You can still be kind and compassionate, but with the understanding that your well-being matters too. You cannot continue to give endlessly to someone who has no intention of reciprocating or showing gratitude. Instead, act with virtue and wisdom and recognize when it's time to set boundaries for your own sake. By practicing this level of discernment, you ensure that your kindness is given freely and not out of obligation or manipulation. Stoicism encourages us to help others, but only when it's done with wisdom and when it fosters a healthy, reciprocal relationship. When you start to notice that someone is using your kindness for their own advantage, it's time to protect your inner peace and withdraw from the situation. Thanks for watching 6 Types of Ladies You Should Avoid, Stoic Philosophy. If you found value in this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below to share your experiences. If you liked the topic, type 1 in the comments. If it didn't resonate with you, comment 0 so we can improve and create better content for you. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos on Stoicism and personal growth, and hit the bell icon for updates.